This leads to something that'll be very controversial. Not that we haven't been controversial thus far. But there's one line in the New Testament in another book that the Apostle Paul quotes, and every time I read it and we put it on social media, it goes viral. Millions of views. Just reading this verse. No comment. Whole bunch of young people are like, oh, it just triggers them. So we'll do it again. 1 Timothy 5:8. If anyone does not provide for his relatives, especially for members of his household, he has denied the faith and is worse than an unbeliever. So if you're a man, your family is your responsibility. Your responsibility. You can't be like, oh, I got to vote for somebody that's going to take care of them. God already voted for you. So you got to do your job. And this is so countercultural, but so helpful. So let me speak to how many of you are young men? I know a lot of you online, young guys are here, a lot of young guys online. So what God says in the Bible about young men, this is just a word for young men. God says in the Bible that young men are strong. That's what he says. He says, I write to you young men because you're strong. That's not necessarily a good thing. A terrorist is strong. A pit bull is strong. And so is bad Chinese food. It's all very strong, but it's not necessarily a blessing. And so what God wants, he wants to take the strength of a young man and direct it toward a purpose. And so what God first says is, okay, direct all of your masculine strength, all that testosterone and vigor and aggression and ambition that they call toxic masculinity at the school where people are educated beyond their intelligence and lie for a living. Just ignore all of that, take all of that strength and now direct it toward godliness. Right, God, you're my father, I'm your son. I want to do what my father tells me to do. Take all that strength, direct it toward godliness. Then if you're a young man, you're like, I find girls interesting. You think to yourself, I would like to be with a girl. Great, we have something custom designed to fix this problem called marriage. And most women, if they're paying attention, don't want to marry an unemployed guy who's idle. They want to marry an employed guy who's active. So now what you've got to do, you've got to move out of your mom and dad's house. You got to go get a job. You got to pay your bills. You got to pay down your debt, right? You got to get a breath mint. You got to be good at something other than video games. You got to buy a shirt with buttons. You got to figure out how to go from 1 to 2 eyebrows. You got to get some stuff sequenced. You got to get this sequenced. Now, once you do, you meet that nice girl. If she wants to marry you and her dad has any sense, he's going to ask if you've got a job and a place for her to live and if you're going to be able to feed her. You need to be able to say, yes. And then, if everything goes according to your plan, can't say too much, we're on the live stream. If you have a child, that's how you know it's going according to plan. You have a child, guess what? That child needs somebody to take care of them. And what he's saying is, gentlemen, that's you. That's you. That's your wife. Those are your kids. That's your responsibility. And if you don't provide for them, you're worse than an unbeliever. Don't quote me a verse. If you're not willing to work, pay your bills, and pave your way, you're not a man, you're a boy who can shave. That's who you are. So what we do here is we build men up to bless women and children. That's what it means to be a man. You're not around real men unless the women and children are blessed because those men are around. Those men make the world a better place for women and children.
Hey, howdy, Pastor Mark here. Thanks for viewing the clip. And if you'd like the entire sermon, we've got it ready to go.